reacted probably the same way yesterday. The first assumption when Trae Young was announced out with Game 4 with a bruised right foot, that it would be smooth sailing for the Bucks, who were going for their third straight win. But quite the contrary. Notwithstanding Giannis' third quarter injury, the Hawks cruised the entire game, leading by as many as 25 points, going on to win 110-88 to tie this series up at 2. Perk, was the outcome of this game more about the Bucks or was it about the Hawks?
Oh, it was about the Atlanta Hawks, and I don't even think it's a debate for the simple fact that your superstar goes out, a guy that has been, tremendous throughout the playoffs, to me, been the brightest star of the playoffs. He goes down, and everyone in the world thought that the Bucks were going to blow them out. And what did the Hawks do? They came out and played their hearts out, hung their hats on the defensive end, holding them to 88 points, holding the Milwaukee Bucks to 88 points. They put on a defensive clinic. And by the way, they played inspiring basketball offensively, player and ball movement. They had 6 guys in double figures, led by Lemon Pepper Lou, who Draymond Green tweeted out and said, don't sleep on. They were together. It seemed like a family. It seemed like they enjoyed playing with one another. It was just a beauty to watch. This game was more about the Hawks than the Bucks to me, just because of the way that they approached the game without their star player.
I got to figure out. This happens to me and my partner Kaz on our other show too, because I feel like we're thinking the same way, but we come up with the different answer. For all of those reasons, Perk, I feel like it's more about the Bucks not capitalizing in terms of being a team that we have high expectations from. They threw almost $400 million at Giannis and Drew Holiday. I didn't even mention the Middleton numbers. They are supposed to be the team that capitalizes in a moment in which the Atlanta Hawks are missing their star, and they didn't. And so for me, it is a glaring lack of focus. It becomes a commentary on this team's ability to be prepared for the moment and just how serious they are about the opportunity to go and win a national title. It also becomes a huge commentary on Bud, again, Coach Budenholzer, who I'm wondering, did you game plan for Trae and then Trae wasn't there and then y'all couldn't adjust in terms of the game plan? Like, I don't understand. Before Giannis got hurt, it looked like he got comfortable. He wasn't attacking the paint that he was in the previous victories in the course of this series. He looked like he was settling for that jumper a little bit more. I'm very confused by this Bucks squad. We know that this Atlanta Hawks team is good, and so for them not to be prepared to deal with them, I'm looking more at the Bucks because I know that Atlanta is a good team.
Raz Godonwude also here with us. So, Raz, who do you think this game was about more? Was it the Hawks or the Bucks?
Monica, you're my girl, but I got to go with Perk on this one.
Okay.
And Game 4 was about the Hawks. First of all, you got to start at the top. Nate McMillan had his team ready to play without Trae Young. They understood the assignment. Without their top playmaker, they had to move the ball. They had 26 assists in the game. They came out in that game. They were the aggressors on offense, on defense, and mentally. Then you look at the performance of Lou Williams, who, by the way, I was not surprised by anything he did on that court. Don't forget, against the 76ers, when the Hawks came back from being down 26 points, I think that was Game 5, it was Lou Williams who was the catalyst there. So now Lou Williams comes in, he's in his first career playoff start, 21 points, I expect that from Lou. I'm like, I believe that he can do that. But it was the efficiency in which he played with that really impressed me, because Lou could put it up. He shot 7 for 9 from the field within the flow of the game. He had 8 assists, only 1 turnover. Very impressive. This was about the Hawks. I want to point out one more thing. Giannis's injury is significant, but it did not alter the momentum of that game. When he went down, the Hawks were down 10. Going into halftime, Giannis had already shot 3 air balls. Okay? The Hawks had set the tone in that game. Certainly his injury, depending on how serious it is significant for the rest of the series. But in Game 4, that was not the game changer. The Hawks took Game 4.
Okay. I completely understand the logic that you guys are putting forward. I continue to lean on the team we thought. I mean, in a way, the Hawks have surprised us, although we know that they're good. The Bucks, man, they just weren't ready for the moment at all. And credit the Hawks. They absolutely capitalized. Lou certainly stepped in.
Well, Monica, this is the thing. You're going to hurt your brain trying to figure out the Bucks because they're so, like I said before, they're confused. They're confused themselves. And watching them play, this is not just of Game 4, this is how they play all the time, like careless basketball. But you know one guy I want to give a lot of credit to? He's not the superstar of the team, but he is the leader of this team. Clint Capella,
yeah, absolutely.
right? He don't get enough recognition for what he brings to the table. And I'm not talking about grabbing rebounds, anchoring the defense, and blocking shots. I'm talking about the way he's leading. He's talking vocally he's talking vocal to the media. He's preaching about we're going to get this win. He's going out there and deliver. We have to remember Clint Capella is battle tested. Clint Capella went against that powerhouse team in the Golden State Warriors. He was in those moments in the trenches with James Harden. So Clint Capella, I just wanted to show you some love because your leadership skills have been went unnoticed, and I just want to point it out to the world today. You have really been a true leader to this Hawks organization and this young team.
He absolutely understands his role and is a star at it. I mean, upon him coming to the team, he really gave them a defensive mentality and presence. He comes in there, you don't need to run a play for him. He's going to go chase an offensive rebound. He's going to go and crash the glass. He's going to block shots. You know, we could be talking about his defensive side of the game more too. So absolutely, he is deserving of flowers and how his role has helped change the Hawks. I'm wondering if it's taking it too far because we're asking, is this about the Hawks or the Bucks? Is it taking it too far to say, has any of this playoff run for the Bucks been about the Bucks? You know, you look at the Nets series, it was very dictated storyline-wise about the injuries and KD and the shot he didn't make. You know, what I'm trying to say is with these Bucks, they are very talented. Any playoff run should be respected. But I wouldn't say I'm inspired by their run. I wouldn't say anything about it has been dominant or spectacular. It's just they're an interesting team.
They do seem to lack that mentality, like that drive to really win and be that champion. You know, the mentality you need to become a champion, it does seem to be lacking. So, look, I think we can all agree on that one thing. But let's talk about Chris Paul, because this man has the mentality. His remarkable success. Perk, what did this game say about the Hawks?
It said a lot. First of all, we already know that Lou Will is a walking bucket. He's a true professional. You could drop him anywhere in America. I don't care if it's at the LA Fitness, the Wellness Center, wherever. He's going to get buckets. We know that, right? He's a pro's pro. But at the end of the day, we have to give credit to Nate McMillan. I thought he did a great job of having his troops ready to play. Even before Giannis went out the game, the Hawks defense was on point like Rondo. I mean, they were loaded up, boxes and elbows, not giving up any driving gaps, contesting everything, playing hard, running through a wall for Nate McMillan, sharing the ball offensively. They were playing beautiful basketball on both ends of the floor. So what that goes to show me is that Nate McMillan has the attention of that locker room. A voice in that locker room matters. Who said that coaching doesn't matter in the NBA? I heard a couple people say it in the beginning of the season. I would not say their name. Kyrie, Kevin Durant. Coaches does matter. And Nate McMillan is showing a prime example of that right now.
Coaching definitely matters. I agree with you 100%. But I also think, Perk, and it's weird, I will admit, as a part of the Knicks coverage team, I was too close to this team to really give them their flowers at the beginning of this playoffs run. But this is a team that is very similar in mindset to me to the team that we called in our guest a little later in the show, that Memphis Grizzlies squad. They are young, they are confident, they are talented. I think people sometimes skipped over the length that the Atlanta Hawks have. They overlooked the shooting that the Atlanta Hawks have. They shot 50% as a team from the field last night. And in particular, when you get a guy like Bogdanovic back on track, knocking down threes, I mean, as important as Trey is, if it's not a lob or a floater, it's usually a pass somewhere to Red Velvet and Kevin Huerter, shout out to the Maryland Terps, my DMV area, or to Bogdanovic. And so Bogdanovic getting back on track, to me, was a huge part of this ballgame. And we absolutely hope Trey returns. But I think when you look at this Atlanta Hawks squad, they have been 6-2 in clutch time victories, right? Down the stretch of this postseason. They have the most clutch victories. So there is nothing about this squad that shrinks from the moment. And that's something that might not show up on the box score, but as you watch the makeup of this team, how confident Trey was coming into this thing, talking about how everyone had overlooked that squad. Listen, I will be the first to admit, I overlooked the Atlanta Hawks. I am no longer overlooking them.
I don't think anyone is.
Well, look, Well, look, I'm going to say this to you, Charlie and Monica. One is that, Monica, look, I know you came dressed the first take looking like it's a Sunday on Mother's Day, but I didn't know you was going to drop the gospel like that this morning. That's the first thing. Second of all, look, I was rolling with the Hawks. I had faith in the Hawks. I rolled with the Hawks in the first series, the second series. I just didn't think that they had enough experience. They are surprising me right now. What they're doing right now for us, Clint Capella anchoring their defense, Kevin Huerter, I mean, he is relentless. And Bogdanovich finally found his stroke back. He had been missing for a while. He hadn't been playing meaningful minutes. John Collins has finally bought into who he is and not trying to go outside his body. And God knows, whoever thought that Gallinari, a guy that I probably could beat in a foot race, will be out there giving buckets to people right now the way that he is. I mean, he's dunking the ball, snatching the screws out the rim. Much credit to the Atlanta Hawks and what they've done, but Nate McMillan has done an unbelievable job with this team.
Perk, let me ask you this, obviously, because you have the experience in this space. Not that teams overlook teams, right? You're supposed to know, and y'all are the brotherhood of NBA players and would not disrespect teams in that way. But to me, for a Buck squad with Giannis to come out as lackluster as they did last night, it felt like they too were disrespecting this Hawks team. So do you sense some of that from a Buck squad that many of us feel like, look, Bud's seat is hot if they don't get to the finals, and they still last night had an opportunity and weren't able to capitalize?
Well, you know, we have this saying, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with it. It's called the basketball guards. And one thing they're always watching, you cannot cheat the game. You cannot just show up. You cannot just come to the basketball arena and just show up. You got to respect your opponent. The Bucks did not do that. They were not playing hard last night. And at the end of the day, the Atlanta Hawks hit first, and I watched the game from the start to the finish. And what I saw an inspiring Atlanta Hawks team saying, hey, we're not afraid of you. We have a point to prove, which goes back to coaching again. But look, I will say this. The Milwaukee Bucks is probably the most frustrating team to watch in NBA history. Some of the plays that they do, some of the turnovers that they have is just so disturbing to watch. You ask yourself, why? I coach a 9-year-old team that my son play on, and they don't make the careless turnovers that the Milwaukee Bucks do. They just play dumb basketball, and I think sometimes it turns out it ends up hurting them in the long run.
The other thing we have to mention in this conversation, I should look up the stat, but the Atlanta Hawks had on the blessed MLK jerseys last night, and so when they got the ancestors on their side, you know, things happen, and they were absolutely ready to play. And so I just think that this Hawks squad is very good, and it feels organic. I'm not saying they're about to be the next dynasty in the way that the Golden State Warriors were, but in terms of a squad that has done it through their draft process, developed their guys, it feels like we might be on to something from Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we remember what happened when the Lakers wore the Mamba jerseys. That brought them good luck, too. So there is something to be said about the wardrobe choices. Okay, now, should Giannis miss a game due to injury, he becomes the 10th All-Star to miss a playoff game. That is the most in league history, with the previous high being 6. This season's list also includes Anthony Davis, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, and Chris Paul, just to name a few. Trae Young, not on the list, as he was not an All-Star this season. So, with so many All-Stars unable to contribute throughout the postseason, is this a legit championship perk?
Yes. And look, injuries happen. You can go back and look through the history of the NBA. Injuries happen. The great Tim Duncan said you need a little bit of luck, right? And sometimes, unfortunately, that luck happens to be the opponents getting hurt. It happens in the NBA. It happens in the world of sports. So at the end of the day, no one could question this championship. We're seeing new faces. We're seeing guys rise to the occasion like DeAndre Ayton. We're watching the emergence of Devin Booker, Trae Young, Huerter. We're watching all these guys have this platform, and they're taking advantage of it, and they're competing at the highest level. So, and Paul George has found himself again. So at the end of the day, yes, this championship is all the way legit to whoever wins it.
I'm going to take y'all behind the veil just a little bit. This morning in our production meeting, when this question was posed, I legitimately was disturbed and confused. Why wouldn't it be legit? Well, I don't understand. How can we now begin to say, because of injuries, a championship doesn't count? First, y'all wanted to complain about the bubble being a popcorn Mickey Mouse championship. Now we're on to injuries robbing us of championships. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
Like, this is just outside of my ability to comprehend when it comes to sports. Injuries are absolutely a part of the game. It does have to do with luck. Perk, I love that quote. If you dismiss this championship because of injuries, then you should just relinquish your right to call yourself a sports fan, because this is part of the game. And I tell you one thing, none of those guys, if Chris Paul goes on to still win it, none of those guys that were injured would begrudge their team. No player is saying it doesn't count because of injuries. Now, a little later on, we're getting into some of the things that LeBron has to say. Does it cause us maybe to look at how things were done this year? I will give you that. But to say that this doesn't count, like what planet are you on? No, absolutely not. This counts.
I mean, and we just saw a prime example of it last night. Superstar Trae Young was out, a guy who's probably averaging around 33 points in this series. Their superstar, the head of their snake, is out. And what the Hawks do before Giannis even went out? They were up double digits. They come out and they strike. So at the end of the day, I don't want to hear that. You can miss me with everything that's going on. We watching guys like Cam Reddish, who haven't played in 4 months because he was injured, come in off the bench and have a serious impact. I mean, he was strapping Chris Middleton so tight, like he was tying up a pair of winter boots last night. That's how much he was on him. So at the end of the day, I don't want to hear. You can miss me with that. It's always a problem. It's always some type of question, or someone always trying to move the goalposts or throw out this narrative when it comes down to why this championship or this championship should be legit. Or no, all championships are legit, no matter the circumstance.
Now, as a fan, we will give you room to say, if my team, insert injury, did not happen, it would have been different. We all can do that. That's part of our consumption of sport. But the record will stand. The champion of 2021 is whoever is going to be, injuries or not. Sorry.
Well, Charlie and Monica, I'm gonna say this, and one last point. I was on the 2010 team with the Boston Celtics when we played the Los Angeles Lakers. Our starting five went healthy. We never lost the playoff series. I tore my ACL in Game 6. People still to this day talk about, man, if Perk would have played in Game 7, we would have won a championship. Well, I didn't play in the Game 7, and Kobe Bryant won his 5th championship with the Los Angeles Lakers. It is part of the game. It happens. And by the way, in that Game 7, we were up 14 going into the 4th quarter. So at the end of the day, I don't want to hear about, if Perk would have played or this person would have played. No, at the end of the day, all these guys are true professionals. They get paid a lot of money from top to bottom to go out there and perform. Strap your boots up. These championships are legit.
Well, Perk, we still wish you would have played in that Game 7. But you know who you sound a lot like right now? You sound like Shaq. And that's a guy whose comments we're going to get to later on in the show, because he responds to LeBron. And we all know how LeBron went on that rant the other week. But we do got to move on, because we have a lot more that we all